Moving on to a panel discussion, marketing in e-commerce. I would like to welcome our panelists on stage. Dolly, can you please put the place cards? I would like to invite our panelists. Once again, Mr. Mahesh Murthy, can I have you back on the stage? Vishal Grover, Harish Singla, and Mr. Ashish Chalani. So I'll quickly introduce our panelists while they are coming up. Mr. Vishal Grover is General Manager Marketing Trade India with an experience of 17 plus years of working in the internet domain, has gained the knowledge and insight of the internet world and how SMEs in particular are getting conversant with the use of internet for the growth and expansion of their business. Mr. Harish Singla is Director and Co-founder of REIT India Consultants Private Limited, an e-commerce enabler for selling online that builds connections between brands and labels and the e-commerce marketplaces with its professional end-to-end services. Harish is an alumni of the Indian School of Business, Hyderabad, and also has attended various MDPs at Wharton and Kellogg's USA and FDC Brazil, and also has hands-on experience in the banking sector. Mr. Mahesh Murthy we met just now in the previous session, and Ashish Chalani is the founder of Retail India. So I will request Mr. Murthy to lead this panel and start proceedings. Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a merger and acquisition, so actually Vishal is going to run this panel, and I've spoken too much. I'm happy to be just one simple speaker. It's up to Vishal. He's been most active on the email groups before this, so this is yours, Vishal.
Thank you, Mahesh. I don't know, will I be able to fill in Mahesh's shoes because he was supposed to be moderator, and the kind of experience he shares and he understands the market. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty small against in front of him. So, as the topic of the event is the marketing for e-commerce companies. So we need to first identify what marketing is for e-commerce companies and why a person has to look at marketing. My understanding of what marketing is, an SME or small medium entrepreneur, he looks at marketing with one sole objective: to promote his organization, lead more sales. Because that's the core element of marketing. Whatever you do, you have to find, for an SME in particular, he has to translate it to sale. So for an SME to start with the marketing process, has to understand a few basic elements or components of marketing. The foremost is the time available in his hand. An SME needs to understand what time, what duration, what amount of time he has to do activities which are required to build marketing platform for his company, and how much resources he has, which is very important in terms of resources, his internal resources, his resources in the company, and what he can outsource in terms of paying people to come on board and do the professional duties which are required to run a marketing platform for a company. And most importantly, he has to identify the tools, the components which are there in the market for a good marketing platform to build in order to promote a company well, in order to get eyeballs, in order to grab people who will come forward and who would do business with you for that matter. So the most important, as I said, will be the first and foremost the time management, the time part. Time, a lot of times I interact with a lot of SMEs, and we feel that SMEs, as they are go-getters, they start the company, they start doing various things. They feel, okay, they will do this, they will do that, they will do this, everything they try to do themselves. But that is where the problem starts. And many times these guys who try to do various things, they falter. They feel that everything they have to do themselves. I can understand a lot of SMEs, especially brick-and-mortar business kind of companies whom I interact with. Many of them, they have started their company at their own. They are the production manager, they are the marketing manager, they are the finance manager. They do everything. So they feel when it comes to online business, they do everything. They start creating their own sites, they start writing content, they start doing various things. But what happens is, as they involve with so many other things in the focus, they end up missing various components, and that leads to failure. And what I understand is, when you start something when it doesn't click, it leads to disappointment for you, and you do not touch that thing again. Or you sort of leave it, okay, it doesn't work here, काम नहीं होता, चलता ही नहीं. So my suggestion, first and foremost, to every company is look at your resources, look at your time. What is your core expertise? You should focus on that, and leave rest for experts. If you cannot hire experts in your company, you can outsource them for project-to-project basis. There are things that you want to do, you hire somebody who can write good content for you. Now, the most important part, which I'm sure other panelists will say, for marketing to be built, the most important and the critical element is the content of a company. Content of your website, content of your promotions. So I shouldn't be doing saying myself, so I'll pass it on to Ashish, who will say more about it.
Actually, I'd like to comment on Vishal's first comment. So again, one of my other backgrounds is I own a jewelry brand, online only, in the US. So, I kind of disagree and agree with Vishal. Yes, you don't have enough time, but it's also important that you learn everything yourself, okay? When you outsource, if you don't know what is your USP and you're not able to communicate that to the outsiders, it doesn't matter how much, how well of a job they're doing, because they're not going to sell your product. They're good at marketing, they're good at technology, but they don't understand the nuances of your business. So what I would say is that as an SME, it's also important to understand every piece of that business. It doesn't matter if you don't spend time doing it, but at least understand each piece of it. Is that a fair representation? And again, we have, I'll actually pass it on to Harish, and then I think we'll have Mahesh also participate. Harish has a very unique model that actually supports a lot of what Vishal says. So.
Hi everybody. As Ashish said, that it's the entrepreneur who builds the business. It's not anything else, So he said that very clearly, and I fully agree. And the way Vishal says that it's a balancing act between the so many things which you have to bring. Only then you can be building a good marketing strategy, which will actually win the things. But one thing which I would like to say here is that. It has to be easy also. It has to be quick also, because when as a SME, because you an entrepreneur who doesn't have the experience, even there is not much of the market know-how is available also. At that time, it has to be so quick. I'll just give one simple background. The business which we are running in Reach India, we are enabling the e-commerce. That a supplier or a brand comes to us and he says that I want to sell this product online. And from the start of the photo shoot, content writing, uploading on the marketplaces, order management, your inventory management, and up till even the payment reconciliation that is done for the brands. But again, it has to be a single window operation which helps the supplier to build its marketing strategy. Because he has to see two more things here, because it has to be profitable. As Mahesh said that if we are talking about any business has to be profitable. In my previous company also, where I was working in HDFC Bank, and bank is very clear about that if MD says that if you are bringing some cost, please bring your resignations also, that if tomorrow you are not bringing profit to me, so I can process that. So it's a simple thing which is understandable to everybody, that any marketing strategy which is bringing us profits, which is giving ease to operate, and only then that can be successful. In our one more effort which in our business which we are doing is that we are connecting suppliers to the offline retailers, where offline retailers can buy with the help of a tablet, from a website. And in end of it, that customer is buying the same product from the e-com ecosystem only. But again, the marketing strategy has to be straight, single window, easy to use, and profitable in that. I'll hand over to Mahesh.
So it's interesting. I mean, I meet so many entrepreneurs. It's part of my life. It's what I do. It's what I've done. And one of the things is that I'm an entrepreneur myself. I run a few businesses. One of the things is that we all think we are Superman and Superwoman. We want to do everything ourselves. The minute I start to hire and delegate, the first answer was people are really bad. Because if I do it, they'll never do it as good as me. I have to do it again myself, rather do it myself. Right? So, and everybody, all of you agree with that. We all tend to overdo things ourselves because we believe other people are good enough, and it's true. And the only thing that I say is that, look, you have an idea in your head, the other person is not down. Maybe they'll start doing it 30% as well as you. And maybe in 6 months' time it is 80%, and remember in 18 months' time it will be 120% as good as you. So the more important thing than trying to do everything yourself is to actually figure out what is it that you can do in this 8 to 18-month period when you're building your team is to really get your culture and your thinking across to that person. Not too many people hire for culture. We all tend to hire boss. This person worked at Jabong, let me buy, take him to Flipkart. This person worked at Flipkart, let me take him here. The issue I think with e-commerce industry specifically is that we have no differentiation. I was just telling somebody earlier, all of you guys are selling the same product in the same marketplace. Why the hell would any consumer buy from you? If all of you have the same content writers and the same photography style, exactly the same keywords, why the hell would anybody buy from you? What's so different about you? So my issue is not so much that you should not use external services, but when those services are used, whether it's external or internal, they have to be deeply stereotyped, deeply typified only by you. So the way you shoot your product, the way you write about it, the way your site is done, the way the experience is cannot be like the way anything else is. So the danger of using somebody who's with some vanilla experience is that you become a vanilla site. If you become another vanilla company, you will die. What really makes the difference out here is being not vanilla. And that only comes from you, the entrepreneur. And your job, think about it, there are no great one-person companies. If you accept that, then you know that you have to build a team. If you accept that, then you know that your most important job is to build that culture of the team, and for them to be able to understand what it is you're doing, right? And I get it. I mean, one of my personal investments is a microbrewery in Pune. We're actually just opening up in Bombay also. It took the longest time for me to be able to say that the only way this will go is that we never advertise it. And I say that as somebody who spent 25 years as an advertiser. And we hired somebody from the advertising world, and believe me, for 1 year we kept butting heads because all they kept getting back was advertising campaigns. Till finally we had to replace and find a person from outside the advertising world who got what we were doing and who now really understands how it is done. Right? So the issue here is again not just hiring, but hiring in some cases, many cases I advise that people I work with, rather than finding people with 10 years, 20 years, 30 years experience, find really bright, BVM kind of students, take them on because they're not yet spoiled by the world. You can still shape them because no MBA school has put some toddler shit into their head. Nobody has put any other crap into their head. It's still innocent minds. Keep them innocent and make sure that they learn to think like you. So I think that's really the first part because I agree with Vishal, you can't do everything yourself. But the danger of blind outsourcing is that you're going to look like everybody else. So you have to walk that fine line saying, how do I get a team that actually is not just me, but they all think and act like me? And your biggest goal, and I keep telling you, if you ever put a designation in a card other than CEO, your designation has to be HR. The biggest role of any CEO is HR. It's your job to train, your job to hire. It's not HR's job. Your job to find that person because you have to program that person to think like you. When you do that, it makes your job easier. Today I'm able to, I travel, I talk about BJP, as some of you know, I run a fund, I run an agency, and still take 100 days off here. It's because I think I've succeeded in finding people who think like me, or at least brainwashing people to think like me over a period of time. So that's my 2 cents of that.
That's fantastic. So, what Mahesh has pointed out, to the extent I understand what I will perceive out of his communication is that to run a company, you have to have right people. So obviously, vision is yours, you understand the product better, you understand the company better. So, hire those people, train them as per your needs. Even if you outsource, then be involved. Rather than doing it yourself, be involved because you are the one who will communicate your things. And the most important part is which Mahesh pointed out in the earlier presentation, that create a differentiator for your products. You cannot be running same business. Like, gone are the days, today you start an e-tailing company where you want to sell online, if you sell the same product, put it online and start selling it, how will you run? How will you earn money? Because there are large players available who will eat your pie. You will never get business coming to you. You have to create differentiators for yourself. You have to create an identity for your product. The day you are able to do it, then people will keep going back to you. Then people will come back to you. But the most important part is anything which is good, anything which is substantial, differentiated, can be copied. So anything which can be copied today is yours tomorrow can be somebody else's. But the most important part is innovation of that. You create something good which sells, you innovate it further. You let it become something better down the line. If it stays the same, then somebody else will copy it, maybe a larger player will copy it and eat you pie. Take you long. You will again be sitting idle, not doing anything. But if you innovate it, make it even better, then that will keep adding to your business. You will keep getting traffic, you will keep getting buyers who will be interested in buying your product.
Actually, I'd like to expand. Vishal started off the initial conversation with content, and I think we kind of dropped the ball on that. But I think content is a very key part of your marketing. Just like Vishal was mentioning on the products, Mahesh mentioning HR, content is just as important. When I say content, it doesn't only restrict to product descriptions, product names, product attributes, but things around your product. So, what would a person look for to make their purchasing decision, right? That's what I want to refer to as content. So it could be any of that. But I think that's just as important when you're looking to market a product, is what is the content around that product? What will finally make the person decide to buy that? It could be images even.
One thing, like, I fully agree with Ashish, the saying about the content. Content is very, very important. A person goes through the full content, at what it is written, and according to that, he makes his decision. But one thing which Mahesh pointed out, that the product offering which we are giving to the customer, it has to be so specialized, it has to be so narrow that that is an innovative product, that if the process is offered or if a service is offered, it has to be that we can become a market leader in that, which in his previous presentation also he has said the same thing. So marketing strategy can only be better if we can become a dominant player of that. And if we cannot become a dominant player, but at least we should be profitable in whichever segment we are operating. And if it has to become so big, then on all aspects, it has to be very good, whether that's a content writing or the display which we have, or the way we are reaching to the customer, the way we are acquiring the customers, or anything else which delights the customer.
Yeah, like a question, sure.
Specifically, a lot of people come and talk to me, say, Mahesh, keep talking about the zero budget marketing, how the hell you do it, So a lot of people tend to mistake that to mean, chalo, checkbook, I need a Facebook page, checkbook, I need a Google Plus page, checkmark, I need a Twitter account, checkmark, I need Google, checkmark, I have Twitter, checkmark, check. The problem is that when you're doing that, you're just creating the more sameness. The first thing is to start off by just questioning everything. Imagine even today a brand like Apple doesn't have a Facebook page. Right? That's the world's most valuable company. It doesn't have a Facebook page. It's a consumer-facing company. Second, you have to really understand the nature of Facebook. Right? Why do you want to have a Facebook page as people? Well, we want to tell people about a product. But frankly, imagine that you're a Facebook user. All of you are on Facebook. How many of you have ever liked a product announcement? Somebody says, this is my new product. Have you ever liked it or shared it? We don't do that because we hate to hear about product announcements. So if you're not going to be interested on Facebook, why should you be on it? Well, okay, there are people there. So bigger challenge is, okay, now how can you be interested on Facebook? How can you create something that is actually share-worthy, that is actually remarkable? We'll come back to the same thing, being remarkable. To me, if I was to say that two words that drive, in some ways, all successful businesses, especially in marketing, is how can you do something that's remarkable? What do we mean by that? We can go shoot an ad and put a video, and some video brand. The truth of the matter is, when have you ever shared a brand's video on Facebook? Almost never. But a friend sent you a cute video about a cat or a dog or a baby or something, right? You share it. Correct? That's understanding yourself as a consumer more than as a producer is the key to succeeding in social media. How can you be relevant, interesting, and original? How can you create stuff that gets shared or that gets talked about, that people come and talk about, right? So I'll tell you the kind of thinking. So I was sitting with, for example, with this beer company that I kind of helped a little bit. And we were talking about it, and this marketing person was saying, yeah, you know what, we should have this Facebook. We already have 17,000, 20,000 fans on Facebook. And I said, what do they do? And they said, well, we want to talk about beer. And I said, well, that's okay, but how long can we talk about beer? And we finally figured that what's really important for our business is not so much talking about the product. But what I want, especially if I have a brewery, is I want people to keep coming back. Now, for example, we are opening a restaurant in Bombay, in Bandra, which is what I call the graveyard of restaurants. The highest mortality rate for the restaurants anywhere in India is in Bandra and Bombay. Every week somebody shuts down and somebody else comes up. It's like Hindi movies. Everybody thinks, I will produce a movie. They'll lose money, they'll come back and produce a movie again. That's the restaurant business in Bombay. Right? So the issue there is that many people think, okay, let me spread my news, use page 3 in Jaipur Times and Bombay Times and talk to 100,000 people. The problem is that people come on the first night and never come thereafter. What I'd rather have is nobody comes on the first night, one person comes on the second night, two come on the third night, four come on the fourth night. That's a better business. Which basically means what I need to talk to is a few people, but make them come back far more often and talk to a large number of people and make them come once a year. Which means now I have to redefine an audience. I don't want to talk to everybody. I want to talk to just a very narrow set of people. I want them to come back maybe 25 times a year. How do I do that? So you figure out we're going to actually create a community and not worry about the beer at all. Like create a group of pals, the idea is that we meet at this place, much like a friends kind of thing. Now we're working on that. So I think that is far more important. Once you figure out the strategy and the tactic, then you figure out, okay, now how does Facebook fit, and now how does Twitter fit, and now how does Google Plus fit. Otherwise just say, Twitter is meaningless. Unless you know what you're doing. Twitter is a tool. You know what you're doing, Facebook is a tool. I'll give you another example. So one of our companies is a women's apparel company called Dalmina. Some of you may be customers also. We basically said we want to only grow by word of mouth. But we have a little bit of money for paid media. So how do we do that? So what we said was we modeled the person. The person is 24 to 26-year-old, a person living in Delhi NCR. So we first picked 5 such people. Then we used only targeting ads to their friends. And we grew from friends to friends. Every week we target another group of friends because we have a friends targeting group on Facebook. By doing that, we basically, what would happen is, he's my friend. He'd see this week that I bought a product because we are connected. He said, boss, Mahesh bought a product. I'll go. And then his friend Vishal would say, oh, Vishal bought a product. And we literally grew it by word of mouth by forcing advertising only at friends. So I think, not to say that these are brilliant or these are stupid, but all I'm trying to say is that just doing Facebook, just doing Twitter, and just doing SEO, and just doing SEM is meaningless. What's the bigger idea? What's the objective? What's the differential out there? Once you figure that out, then figure if any of this is necessary. And then figure out, okay, now you figure out what you want to do that's different, how you want to do marketing that's different. Now use a tool called Facebook and a tool called Twitter and a tool called Google Plus. Also, I want to tell you one thing about social networks that many people tend to kind of forget. I started on social networks in the days of Rise and whatever, all of those things that are dead and gone right now. Social networks die. One day Facebook will die. I think that is 2 years away. Right? It's already on the decline in terms of usage in India. It's been on the decline for 1.5 years. Users and usage in the US, it will die. So, of course, my friend Peter who runs Facebook hates me for saying this, but the point is that if you're now LinkedIn and all your fans are on Facebook, you have 100,000 fans, guess what happens? You have no idea who the fans are. You don't know their address, you don't know the name, you don't know the phone number. The company has it, and every time you want to talk to your own fans, you have to pay even more money to the company. Right? That's this Facebook business model. You will have 500 friends on Facebook. The problem is every time you go to Facebook, you see only 4 updates. Because the peak visibility is 4%. So out of 500 friends, only 4% of 500 friends will actually get to see your update. That's 20 people you get to see the update. Right? That means 580 people will never get to 480 people will never get to see your update. For every 1,000 people, 960 will never see your update. So you have to make it so powerful that even the 40 who see it, now spread it to at least on the 80, 100, or 120. Because they're very clear. Unless you pay me, I won't open up. Even your own friends. I'll charge you to talk to your own friends. It's Facebook. That's their every model. I can't blame them for it, but that's their every model. Now, your job, one of our companies is called Sports Killer. It's basically India's third largest sports site. We wanted to figure out how to get people to visit a sports site which covers all sports in India other than cricket. So all of Indian football, badminton, hockey, everything, carrom board, everything is there. So what we did was we built 35 communities on Facebook, including carrom board and badminton and women's hockey and hockey. In fact, they have everything all of those stuff. We started communities that had conversations. It was never about competition. Once in a while, we drop in links to articles. And then people by doing so, we built 5 million page views a month for free. Out of which 4 million came from Facebook. Facebook is a traffic source if you take people away from Facebook. If you lose your people back to Facebook, Facebook gets rich. If you take them away from the company, you get rich. You have to figure out what you're doing out here. So think about it, that's all.
Wow, fantastic. So that's what it is. You don't necessarily have to talk about the products only. You have to really create a community there which can help you grow, which can help you bring back those community people to your website, to your product, so that you end up selling your product. Unless you give traffic back to Facebook, who will make millions out of it. Now, as you talk about content is very relevant for your business. When we talk about content, we don't necessarily talk about content from website, which is obviously very important to define your product, which you can do to define about the processes, define about what all you do with the product and how it can be consumed and used. But the content is very relevant in various other ways as well. The content in terms of your reviews, how people review you. You can use your social media platforms like Google or Google Plus or Facebook or Twitter as a CRM system. So a lot of people we have seen these days, when they buy a product, if they're unsatisfied, so writing back to you, writing on Facebook. So that's a platform which you use to use properly in order to address those issues. I was talking to a group of people in Google last week, and they coined a very good term called as zero moment of truth. We all must have heard moment of truth. But they coined this term zero moment of truth. They say when a person intends to buy something, he these days do not simply go to a shop and see a product and then check its modalities and say, okay, I want to buy it. He reviews it first. And we all do that. Today, before buying anything, be it a car, unless very basic commodity stuff, we want to buy something which is substantial to us, either clothes, either cars, anything. We browse for it and we review for it. When we do those reviews, then we, based on those reviews, those answers, those pointers which are given in the market, given by not just our friends, but even by others, makes us take a compelling decision, makes us take a decision which stays in our mind and then we go out and buy the product. So it is very important that we have right content on our website, answering those queries, answering those reviews, and putting across our points so that nobody should have a negative impact about a company. Nobody should have negative reviews about a company in that fashion that a reviewer or a potential buyer who is interested in buying a product end up losing that interest.
So on the reviews, so my thought, Vishal, as running a business, at times you realize that the reviews are mainly the people that want to go and give you reviews are the ones that have the negative ones, right? Not the positive ones. There are very few customers out there that will go out and give you a huge positive review when you do something.
I got a point here. For positives, I always maintain that when you get negative reviews on Facebook or for that any social media, you have to proactively get positive reviews from companies and put it online as testimonials for yourself. You put testimonials, then you grab and make a community which is positive for you and helps you.
Correct, and I agree with Vishal. And that's Vishal's point is very valid as what the need is. I'm telling you, as a business, what happens. So there's a difference between what it should be. But most times you have to make an effort to go out and get those positive reviews. Like Vishal is saying, you have to call the customer, you have to get those testimonials yourself. It's not going to happen by itself. So just adding to Vishal's point that if you're going to just leave it up to the system to create or the whole process to create reviews for you, it's mainly going to be on the negative side unless you put an effort to go out and grab those customers that you did well for and get those positive testimonials or reviews for you.
Yeah, reviews is like a one thing which is a very important piece which we are looking at. But one more thing which comes to my mind is that can that product be offered to that customer? I'll just take one example of chocolates. Can we send chocolates in summertime to a distant location? Because it will get melt or it might not reach, or a perishable product, maybe sweets or something, which we cannot reach to the customer and customer in the right shape. So that is also very, very important, that where the sourcing has to be, how that product can be sent, and then afterwards the reviews if comes, and accordingly we have to define that what product we have to offer and how it can be offered to the customer. And second point which I want to talk about is the touch points with the customer. Because when we are talking about customer, and there are various touch points for the customer, which Mahesh has pointed out one thing, that where he talks about on Facebook or anywhere he talks about, and it may or may not require the marketing budgets, but we can always see that where customer speaks, where customer goes, and accordingly then we can take his reviews, take his views according to about our product, and we can correct our services. One example here again I want to talk about that if on Facebook we are talking about some say industrial products or some product which may not be targeting those Facebook customers, may not be relevant for getting the reviews or feedback from the Facebook customers to whom we are targeting there.
Yeah, so I want to talk about maybe a slight analogy or a slight point of difference. And I think one of the SMEs in India which has used social media extraordinarily well is the Aam Aadmi Party, right? Zero budget. एक छोटी कोटी थी उनके पास, nothing, right? And they were pretty sincere, and I think they did pretty well at it. Learn from people like that and others, right? You may or may not agree with their ideology, but what they have done is very simple. Start with the base of understanding what I have to do has to be remark worthy. Because if I don't do something remark worthy, then I mean, basically you know that the Hindustan Times is married into Mukesh Ambani's family. Mukesh Ambani owns CNBC, CNN, IBN, Lokman, Awaz, NDTV, all NDTV channels, all 9X channels, all ETV channels. They're all owned by Reliance, right? So you know that you don't get BJP news out there. You're not good. If you're up against a wall, what you have to do is say, it doesn't matter, I have no money. I'm the steepest wall in the world, a wall worth $54 billion, but I'll still break through. Right? And you break through by doing things which are remark worthy. Somebody asked me the other day, what's your drama? I said, you don't understand, that's marketing. That drama is marketing, because if you don't do drama, you're not going to get in the news. Because news is paid not to cover you. Forget paid to cover you. It's paid not to cover you. Right? You still have to figure out a way to break through. Now you're out there. You're out there against a Flipkart, you're out there against a Jabong, you're out there against Amazon. That is your $54 billion wall. If you do enough drama, if you do enough noise, you can break through. Alright? And that's what I mean, and there's enough for all you have to figure out. In fact, the most important thing you have to do is to say, look at what all the others are doing and I will not do that. That's the starting point. To almost say that, in fact, one of the best strategies is, even without thinking, is like when everybody is singing, let me zag, start with that. That's really the first foundation. Let me be ready to zag. That means start right from the fundamentals and say, okay, now what is it I can do to be different? And when you can figure that out, what is it I can do? How can I behave? So, for example, again, for this restaurant, we were saying, in Bombay, you don't need to charge service charge. Everybody's charges service charge. It's scam. It doesn't go to the waiters. It goes to the manager. We said, can we do something? Say, instead of service charge, donate to one of these 3 charities that we like. And I don't know. We tried out. Maybe the people who come there will love it. Maybe they will not. But we tried out. The other thing is I keep saying, always be in beta. We all use Gmail, even though it's been in beta for 10 years. Right? You don't have to say this is perfect. This is set in stone. Go out there, try something. Fail fast. If it doesn't work, that's okay. Get it out of it in 2 weeks and start something else again. Everything that you say, everything you try is not going to work. So don't go out there saying, I have this perfect marketing plan. And even with the companies that I work with, I can't see what 6 months ahead. See plan. Sometimes only 3 months ahead. That's all I can say. So go out there, try something. If it doesn't work, try something else. If it doesn't work, try something else. If it doesn't work, try something else. Right? Don't go out there saying, this is it, this is my marketing strategy. I say, go out there and say, I'll go take a step. Then figure out what are the next 5 steps. And the next 5 steps after that. And the next 5 steps after that. It's like coming down a mountain. At first it seems really treacherous. But by the time you start taking steps, you know what the next steps are to take. And eventually you reach ground and you'll be running. And that's really what our journey is like out here. So don't worry too much. Try the different stuff. Try it out. Figure out why it didn't work. Try something else. So fail fast. Don't keep on a thing that is not working. Don't stay there for a long time.
Yeah, the point that Mahesh pointed, Mahesh took example of I take an example of Richard Branson. I don't know how many of you know about him. When he does a product launch or it comes on a new service, he always does something crazy. Last was he go to a Empire State Building and jumped from there. Think of Empire State Building and jumping from there, that grabbed eyeballs, that was in headlines all over, and that built the momentum for his business. So that's what Mahesh pointed out. In order to do something new, you don't necessarily have to put in a lot of money. You can do something different, something which is unique, crazy could be, but with get back to marketing. Marketing, which a lot of people get when we interact with them, when I talk to them, a lot of people are interested in B2B marketing. B2B is business to business. Generally, people will be telling to talk about B2C, but there are a lot of people who are interested in B2B. B2B is a little different than B2C. Reason being, in B2C, you're happy selling one product, 2 products. But when it comes to B2B, generally people are interested in selling in volume, selling in bulk. So there are platforms like India, where I come from. We help people create their profiles online, give them services online which can help them sell their products in volume, not just in India, even outside. We are a pretty old company when people know us. Globally, we got traffic. And we don't do anything major. The only thing is handheld SMEs. We give them support. We create their profile in a manner which is search engine friendly. We write content for them. We create pictures for them. Then we put it in a fashion and then serve them over a year's period of time in order to promote them. And the most important thing which we all tell to SMEs, to our customers is update your content. Keep adding new pictures. Don't make your showroom look like stale. You do not go to a showroom that looks the same for 6 months or 1 year. Change every 20. Obviously, you can't be Zara, you cannot be changing every 15 days, but you can always do that every 2 months, 3 months. Add new products, add new experiences, add new testimonials, add new videos. Videos become a great medium of advertising these days. People create videos, put it online, grab eyeballs, to let people know what all they are doing. Through videos, people are able to understand your processes, your skills, what you're doing, how you're creating things, that add a lot of value. And in video marketing, video play a major role. People sitting 7 seas away cannot see your product, just see a picture of the product, cannot see how you're manufacturing it. But through video, they can understand. And video platforms like us help you do that. Now moving on to, I guess, we are almost, it's almost time. I have kept about 10 minutes. But before we end, I want to add one last point here. Internet is a great world. I mean, people, thousands of millions of people worldwide are getting benefit of this. But I always, if every forum I go and speak, we always stress on one thing, that there are some downsides to it as well. That is the downside of trust. On the internet, you don't see person face to face. Whenever you're doing a bulk marketing or a bulk business, or when you're getting into a new proposition with somebody, when you have to pay him a decent amount of money up front, do your due diligence. Due diligence means finding out about the company, maybe do a credit check on him, find out how good that company is. If the company is saying, I've been in the market for 10 years, do a credit rating of him and find out if he actually is in business for the last 10 years. Find out if he says, I'm the owner of the company. Find out if it's actually that the case. He says, my company is that old and doing this kind of business, that is my turnover. These credit reports do not, I shouldn't say that they are insurance against the product or they are guarantee, but they give you indicators based on which you can take an informed decision. A decision which can make you save a lot of money which you would have end up losing otherwise. So on this internet world, people who generally falter are the ones who get tempted. I'll take a very small example. Last time Olympics took place in China, a lot of our customers get inquiries from Chinese businessmen, and they were offered, we want to buy products. They quoted and they also accepted, and they were called to China. They come and buy, come and meet us and everything. They went to China. They were asked to give bribes to senior officials. They give bribe, they came to India, and then after that, they never heard from those guys. When we do further deep diving into that process, we understand that most people who got duped are the ones who quoted their product at 2x the price of what actual price was. The reason being, they felt that they are coming to us asking for product. Now this glass, which in general would have cost 10 rupees, they quoted 25 rupees. And they said, but quote was accepted. So they went to China, they were asked to pay $10,000 to somebody. They said, okay, if I give 5 lakh rupees to somebody as a bribe, it doesn't make a difference because I've already quoted higher. But they never realized they are falling into the trap. And there were some customers who never fall for that trap. They went to China, as they quoted only the very basic price or right price of the product, they couldn't give such kind of price. As they couldn't give such kind of price, they came to India. Though they never got business, they never got duped. So what I'm trying to say here is, you get duped, you get cheated only when you fall for temptation. So kindly keep temptation away while doing business. An honest businessman do a long-term standing for himself and do a business which stays for long-term. Short-term gains do not go long way. So with this, I guess we come to the end of this session, and people who have questions, kindly raise your hands, we'll be happy to answer. So please, excuse me, please give me mic.
Hi, my name is Lalit. Two questions. One is to Vishal. You said that the zero moment of truth, ZMOT, Trade India is not really selling products as yet. So are you planning to get into products? Because there's no zero moment of truth as far as you're concerned.
That's right, sir. But we're not selling products as such, but we're selling services. Right. Our services are reviewed.
For a person like me who has already B2B 20,000 SKUs on the shelf, when I come to you, I don't get that facility of having to sell the products when my customer needs it.
You can do that. You can do that. I don't. Maybe you're not find the right guy. We can talk offline and explain you how we can do that. There are facilities available through which we are having people who are selling about 40,000 products on our site.
Selling?
Yeah, just put the product displayed and then sell in terms of they get leads, because most people who are on our site, they come and they buy in volumes. So we do not have a platform, we integrate payment gateways, but for very fractional companies, very small number of companies take payment gateways from us. Mostly people get inquiries and do business offline.
Yeah. And the second question is to Harish. I mean, what exactly is that you do at Steel Market? Just explain it to our office.
We as a company actually give end-to-end service where it was like last 1 year we started, and where we give end-to-end service to our brands. If any of the brands, those who want to go online, and we have a tied up with 15 marketplaces, 10 to 15 marketplaces, most all marketplaces, and the supplier or the brand has to do work the way they are doing, the way they are supplying in bulk today to the retailer, and in the similar way they will supply the products in our warehouse we will keep those products in our warehouse. And if they don't have a photo shoot available, photographs available of the product, we can even provide that service also to the brand. We will write the content, we have a content writers team, and they write the right content of the product. But we deal only in a fashion and lifestyle category, which is apparels, leather bags, and accessories and artificial jewelry. So these are the main categories which we operate. And we even take care of the order management as well. If any of the order comes, we pick the product, pack the product, ship the product. We provide customer service to the customer in case the customer doesn't receive the product. He claims that. Amazon does for only Amazon. They list only on Amazon. We list on all the marketplaces. So like by tying up with one company, so you are listing on all the marketplaces. So that is what service we are providing, and we also provide a single payment cycle also, because there are different marketplaces. They provide different payment cycles, and again, when you are a brand and you have your own payment cycles, because you are operating in that way, you cannot live with that. Or different payments are coming from 70 to 70 days. So there's a one payment cycle which we provide. So that's how we operate.
So are you also planning to go B2B?
It's a B2B only.
No, I mean for industrial products.
Sorry?
For industrial products, you said you have a very limited product range.
Yeah, no. We are
quite
quite concentrated on fashion and lifestyle, and we would like to operate only in this segment only. We don't have any plan of going in any other product line.
So, I wish to ask, like, all these startups use the same marketing strategies like SEO, SEM, and they use social media and Google AdWords. So, how do you think one compete over the other? I mean, how can one come up over the other?
So, SEO, SEM, social media management, they're not strategies, they're just means. It's like television, you can put anything on it, you can put nothing on it, right? What really matters is what is your strategy, what do you do on how to win on Google. So I'll give you one example, right? So one of our industry companies is a chain of dental clinics. They have 85 clinics right now. 60 of them are in Bombay. And we had a very high spending set of rivals who were selling very high product in Bombay. And they had bought all the keywords, right? So what we did instead was we decided to go hyper-local, where we took the clinics and mapped them on Google Maps exactly. And so we had them all come up rather than SEO, we had the results come up on Google Maps. And we've now built a business which is worth about 20 crores of revenues on Google Maps for free.
So by locations they could target?
Yeah, so I'm not saying that's the answer to every such question. All I'm saying is there are ways which are different to use each of these media. Right? It doesn't mean that SEO means take the same keyword. The problem with SEO is that everybody optimizes for the same keyword. The problem with SEM is everybody is buying the same keyword. The problem with social media is nobody wants to hear your about your product.
Yeah, as you rightly said, nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody cares. So the challenge is how do you make people care? How do you cut through the clutter? How do you stand out in the crowd? Like if you go to a party and you dress like everybody else, nobody's going to notice you. If you talk like everybody else, nobody's going to notice you. Why? The thing is, we are all trained from a childhood to be like everybody else. The big thing for your business is how do you not be like everybody else? So yes, Google is there, it's a tool. How do you want to use it? And there are many different ways to use it. What business are you in?
Silver jewelry.
Silver jewelry. So who was your customer?
So presently I just started up.
Okay, so think about it, right? So start by having a clear focus on who's your customer. Maybe you figure out, my customer is a young mother because she's going to buy, I want them to buy some silver jewelry for their newborn babies. I'm just coming up with some nonsense, right? This is just an example, nothing here. Now figure out how you target young mothers. It's really interesting. What do young mothers look for? They're looking for child-rearing advice, childbirth advice, breastfeeding milk advice. Why don't you advertise on those keywords and do SEO on those keywords? They're not looking for silver jewelry. People who want to buy silver jewelry are not looking for silver jewelry. Why don't you target the customers instead of targeting the occasion? That's just one example. Right? And let's say again hypothetically that you figured out, your niche is young mothers who want to sell silver, that you want to sell silver jewelry to because you want them to buy it as markers for the babies and stuff. Well, why don't you create a community of young mothers around jewelry for that's bought whatever it is, for kids, silver for kids. And once you do that, mothers share photographs of my baby and your baby. And first thing you meet a young mother, in your face she's showing you a picture of her baby, right? But make that happen. That's natural sharing. Work with that. Rather than saying, okay, silver jewelry, buy the word silver jewelry, show silver jewelry. And by doing that, you're going to be like everybody else. So use the same mediums, but do something different.
Anybody else has a question? Okay, great, Bob. So first, this session is going to end a little bit, just about 30 minutes before. So 30 seconds, sorry, my mistake. 30 seconds before. So thank you all. Thanks to the elite panelists, Mahesh, to Mr. Singla, and to Ashish for sure. He's the organizer of the event, but thank you for moderating the session. So thank you.
Mr. Mohit, we have a present task to perform, so may I